Good afternoon and welcome to The Ballot. I'm Blessings Mosugu.
And I'm Dapo. Adegboye. Today, our focus is on Anambra State, where voters are heading to the polls to choose their next governor.
Now, as the election unfolds, our correspondents are stationed at polling units across all 21 local government areas of Anambra State, bringing us real-time updates from the elections.
In a moment, we'll be cutting across to Austin Azu, our correspondent over there. We're standing by at the polling unit with the latest development.
Now, as you know, voting began early in several parts of the state, from Umunze in Orumba South to Ekulobia in Aguata. Now, INEC officials and materials arrived on schedule at many polling units, which many have praised. Accreditation and voting got off to a smooth start as well in most locations, though some centers in Oka and Onitsha reported delays.
Security presence was visible across polling stations, yet despite restrictions on movement, commercial activity continued in major towns. Now, turnout, however, remained modest in areas like Okuno and Ngbaku, where residents trickled in slowly to cast their ballots.
Now, concerns have also been raised about vote buying and voter apathy. The national coordinator of the Obedient Movement, Yunusa Tanko, warns that the integrity of the election is being undermined by financial inducements, saying poverty is being weaponized to sway the voters.
Tanko insists his movement is monitoring the process across all 21 local government areas. He maintains that the Labour Party is not engaged in vote buying, stressing that credible choices should never be influenced by money.
So, what does today's voting reveal about Anambra's political mood? How might voter behavior, voter turnout, and credibility shape the eventual outcome?
Well, to unpack these questions, joining us live in the studio is a legal practitioner, that's Asim Adams, and also joining via Zoom would be joined by Dr. Alex Agbaenyi, and an associate professor of political science at Nnamdi University. But before we get into the crux of the conversation, let's head on to our correspondent in Anambra State, Austin Azu. Austin, great to have you again.
Yeah, good afternoon, Zeno. Of course, where we are now, we are at Ward 1, Unit 009. Behind me, you can see that voting is ongoing, and you can see that some of the eligible voters are still waiting, queuing up to ensure they are able to cast their ballot. Earlier on, the APC governorship candidate, cast his vote at Ward 2, Ward 0013 and 0012. But nevertheless, we have some respondents here to talk to us. We have a community leader here. That's Uche. Dr. Uche, please step forward a little. Step forward. Dr. Uche Boniface. Okay, Dr. Uche Boniface, come this way, sir. Okay. Take us through, how has the process been like in this particular polling unit?
The process has been simple, smoothly. As you can see yourself, you can see how everything is going on smoothly. So we are not having any issue here.
Okay, as a community leader, this particular ward has so many polling units. What have you gathered so far from those other polling units within Ward 1?
Yes, I started going around all the polling units to monitor what they are doing, to know whether there is any fracas in any of the polling units. The same thing that is happening there is also replicating itself there. Osuma is a peaceful town. Thank you. Okay,
before I let you go, there have been alleged voter intimidation, vote buying across board. Have you seen anyone, have you heard about anyone ongoing?
Well, as you can see, you have eyes. Is there anybody that's giving anybody money here? If not, such is not occurring here. Unless if there is any other town that are doing that. As you can see our polling units, nobody is sharing money, nobody is buying vote. They are voting their conscience. Thank you.
Okay, now, the last one is that INEC ad hoc staff, how will you assess them so far, their voting materials and the personnel?
They are just perfectly trained. They are doing their work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Boniface. We appreciate you. Thank you for your time. All right, from what others have said so far, there have been, voter intimidation, according to what the APC governorship candidates talked about in some parts of the state. Then besides that as well, there are issue of vote buying. So, but we are yet to confirm that from what Dr. Boniface just said now. So we intend to go to other polling units to see for ourselves. So back to you in the studio.
All right, Austin, great one there. Let's, of course, look at, in terms of turnout too, voter turnout. How would you say the turnout, is looking like?
Austin, are you there?
Yes, in terms of turnouts, we can see from this particular polling unit yes, in terms of turnout, we can see some good numbers of persons on the queue. It means some persons have voted earlier on. If I'm not mistaken, this particular polling unit pulled over about 100 and something. So for us to see this number on the ground means that the turnout is quite encouraging here. But in other places we have gone to, we have not witnessed this kind of large numbers. So it means that the strength of this polling unit is quite high. But we intend to go to other polling units to come and see things for ourselves.
All right, Austin, before we let you go, we just want to find out. Now, earlier on, I think that was on Friday, you had an interview with a couple of persons. And I remember one woman who vividly stated that she was not interested in voting because over time her vote has not counted. And, she was agitated at the fact that she had the voter's card, but she couldn't use it to vote. And she insisted that going forward, she would only use it in case her children needed to submit the parents' voter's card in school. So that definitely implies heavily that there is a bit of voter apathy. And I think that one of you also reported that in 2 local governments so far, there were no voters registered at all. So there will be no voting going on there. What is the situation with that since the election started?
Of course, it was precisely at Enewe North we interviewed that lady who spoke about not going to the poll on Saturday, which is today. But however, from the places we have gone to so far, there are presence of voters. Of course, don't forget to that there was arrival of voting materials in some of the places we went to, and besides that as well, we equally saw presence of security personnel, and of course, voters started coming quite earlier than expected. So right here at this Ward 1, Unit 009, you will see for yourself that this numbers, what's the time now is almost time has gone far. So you can see the numbers here is encouraging than what anticipated in this particular polling unit. And don't forget to that this particular area before now was occupied by non-state actors, but today you can see these large numbers here coming out to cast their vote. So it shows that yes, the people are ready for this election, but we hope to go to other places to ascertain how far the turnout is looking like.
Thank you so much for bringing us the update from that region, and we're hoping that as smoothly as it's going, it will continue going, that smooth throughout the day. Now, we did mention that we have 2 guests joining us, but in the meantime, while we wait for the other guest joining us virtually, we have with us in the studio a legal practitioner, Asim Adams. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon to you. Nigerians, good afternoon also.
Good afternoon to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to start by asking, before we go to the candidates, let's talk about INEC's preparedness in general.
Yes.
Now, many people have said, and obviously so, that this is the more like the welcome party for the new chairman, Joash Amopiton. And so far, people have said that, the readiness level is commendable and all that. But then let's not forget that there are bigger issues, like the voter apathy that we talked about, the alleged vote buying that we're talking about, voter intimidation and the rest that he has to deal with. So looking at the fact that there is a new sheriff in town, do you think that he will still inherit some of the baggages from the previous administration in terms of INEC's election practices?
Yeah, thank you very much. I believe it's going to be a very difficult task for Amopiton, that is the INEC chairman. The reason is not far-fetched. Why? Because the template and platform on which he's conducting this election today is that of his predecessor. So I don't think he had any input, in today's election. He's just there as a figurehead. Things have been planned already. Because, INEC normally do about 6 months or maybe 8 months plan ahead. Now that Mahmoud Yakub was not changed, and he now came in, he has not even spent up to a month or thereabout, as the case may be. So it is still the same old template. That is my own, opinion, as the case may be. Now, Now, what I have seen, from what I read before coming here, there are areas they have complained that electoral, materials arrive late. That is not too far cry from the old, a kind of a slogan that we had. If materials do not get there on time, and you now begin to disenfranchise some people, because under the Electoral Act, is specified when elections must begin. If it's 7:30 in the morning, it must begin everywhere 7:30. So when election now begins 7:30 in Ward A, the other one is 9:30 etc., there might be room for manipulations, as the case may be. The second other, issue that I feel has, manifested itself here now is that of voter apathy.
All right, we'll definitely come to that. We'll get to that, but we understand that right now the, of course, governor of the state, that's Charles Soludo, is voting at the moment at his word. Take a listen.
So what you see there is live visuals of the incumbent governor, Charles Soludo, casting his vote in his ward. And so far we have heard that, in terms of INEC's level of preparedness, in some regions, the voting materials got there early. But we're also talking about the fact that some people are seemingly disenfranchised because the voting materials didn't get to them on time. But as you've seen, the incumbent governor, Charles Soludo, is currently casting his vote. And definitely there are people around him. Definitely there will be more people who will be casting their vote. And so far, regardless of the fact that we've hinted at voter apathy, it seems that the turnout is quite impressive. Compared to what we would have expected, because there was that scare that almost everybody was saying, oh, there's no need to vote, I don't have to vote. In fact, this particular woman that I spoke about with Austin did mention that, I think in Nnewi North, that the only reason she's keeping her voter's card is so that her children will use it in school. So regardless of all of that, we can see that the voter turnout is turning out to be impressive. Well, there you have it. That was the incumbent governor, Charles Soludo, casting his vote.
So that's 1:18 p.m. 1:18 p.m. What you're seeing right now is live footage from Anambra State. The governor casting his vote. It seems all, he's excited. Apparently, the process seems to be smooth in that particular ward.
It does. It does. And regardless of
his wife, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and regardless of the speculations, I mean, we're going to also come to that. I mean, you, the legal practitioner we have in the studio, I think will be in the best position to talk about some of the speculations and accusations that have been leveled against the incumbent governor, who you can see is currently casting his vote in terms of, vote soliciting and vote buying, even though some of his party members and even the chairman of his party, Abga, have come out to clearly and explicitly say that that wasn't what was intended. One would be, one would want to ask, should that implication even be made in the first place? And I'm talking about the monetary promise that he made. Now, whether he made it to his party members or to the constituencies or to the people in that region, we're still waiting to clarify. But he did make monetary promises for the constituency for as many arm could win the election, which a lot of people have categorically said was an attempt at vote buying. And then that brings us to Nigeria's constitution. But again, we'll get to that. You were talking about something. We just want to quickly get the live visuals of the governor casting his vote, and then we'll come back to the INEC's level of preparedness so far. All right, that's the incumbent governor casting his vote, and of course, as usual, he's flanked by a couple of persons, and you can see the struggle with the media, to get the coverage. It's not an easy job at all. But yes, there you have it.
There's something you said, Blessings, that you made reference to a statement attributed to the governor as regards should they win certain wards, certain, well, I call it monetary. I don't want to use the word rewards. Neither do I want to use the word inducement.
Incentive.
Right? Maybe not incentive. But, and I remember on PHQ, we brought one of his essays to speak on that. And he was saying that, look, it's not in any way an inducement, but an appreciation of efforts. Right? So, again, on the issue of vote buying. I've had several conversations around this. Some will tell you, look, that there's a difference between electoral offense. Some even try to isolate it from electoral offense as against, you just trying to encourage people to come out. And that brings me to you back, sir, in 30 seconds. Do you think, because at some point for so many Nigerians, they feel that this process is gradually becoming a process of the highest bidder. In some elections where there are several money bags, it's who drops the highest at the end of the day. Can we nip this in the bud?
You see, one of the paradoxes of Nigerian electoral engineering is that of the normalization of the incumbency factor. Now, an incumbent governor, an incumbent local government, chairman, is like a salamander. It's a behemoth. You see, it's something like we call Gorgon Medusa.
Wow.
You understand? That is like a god, a teen god when it comes to elections. Now, what happens? He has the control of the commissioner of police. The REC, they visit him. Mind you, he's a candidate in the elections. But you see the REC going to the state capital. He said, I went to pay courtesy call on the governor. Why will you go and pay courtesy call on the governor in an election year that he's a candidate? You understand the point now? Two is that when you look at what happened, is that the financial war chest of the incumbent governor, chairman, president is enormous. To the extent that they can override the Constitution and the Electoral Act. For instance, a very good example. The governor made some remarks. People said it's not inducement, but I call it tacit inducement. There is nothing, I'm not Tamagant, I am not Didi Musan to say that I have a fickle mind to begin to think otherwise. What Section 114 to Section 129 of the Electoral Act says is that before the election, it's not even on election date. I heard that the pictorials I saw, visuals I saw, the man asked the question, are you seeing anybody sharing money here? That is not what we are talking about. There is what we call accessory before the fact and after the fact. In this situation now, what I'm saying, they're not going to share money outside here. But we are saying the law says that before the election, during the election, and after the election. That is, for instance, a candidate. If someone were to be a candidate that is not an incumbent, by now, the police may have been interrogating him. You know why?
Why?
That particular statement was not verbose. It was very clear. What did he say? I am going to award certain amount of money to the local government that gave me the highest vote. That what is that? What does that? You understand?
Subject to interpretation.
It's like a bait.
All right, Mr. Asim.
I
mean, we're still on this topic, but
yes.
We have our other guest joining us virtually,
Yes.
Dr. Alex Agbaenyi. Dr. Alex, you're very welcome. We're talking about the elections, and we're trying to center it on the statement that Soludo made prior to the election that has, sparked different concerns, if I may put it that way. Now, our guest has talked about the fact that, basically implying the lack of structure. And this has led a lot of people to even suggest that going forward for either the governorship or presidential election, although we don't understand how this will work, but many people are saying that maybe a month to the election, they should be stripped of their powers so that anything they do, they're accountable for it. So I just want to get your view on it. Now, we know for a fact that one of the major things that many people have seen as a challenge for a long time is the constitutional immunity that people in power enjoy. And this time around, that might be the case with Soludo and the statement that he made that many have seen as alleged inducement or whatever word we want to use. So I want to get your opinion on that.
Thank you very much. First, I must thank you appreciate you for inviting me to this program. Actually, what I see now in Anambra State is that the electoral situation is calm and quiet. Voters are actually in the field voting. The issue of the statement Soludo made, I think the best thing is to look at what really happens today, or what may happen after the election, to actually understand what Soludo meant. For me, I look at it as a campaign statement by a candidate of a party. And I do not want to believe that a statement like that will be a determining factor of the voting behavior of Anambrarians. What we actually have today that is playing out is voting between those who believe that Soludo did well and should continue, and those who believe that they can do better. Anambrarians have the opportunity to do today to decide whether it is for Soludo to continue or for those who feel they can do better.
Dr. Alex Agbaenyi, please, apologies for interrupting. If you can hear me, we need to go to the live session. The incumbent governor Soludo is speaking now. I want to get that. We'll get back to you.
And going on smoothly. Some places, some glitches here and there, but like there are some polling units I got reported in Olumbanasa that were not where the beavers wasn't working, were not working as expected. But all said and done, I think on the average it will be said to be going on smoothly and as expected. The only concerns we've received is one or two places, particularly in Newi South local government, where we understand that massive vote buying, some even being paid, one of the candidates, particularly from that local government, that he seems to be desperate to win the local government, so he's been sharing 15,000 to voters. And I said, even if they share 100,000, never mind. Let the people just vote, count the votes. Doesn't matter for us. And we're fairly convinced that on the basis of the votes, one man, one vote, that we're going to win and win landslide. No question about that. Now, as for the, you've seen the process here. It's quite seamless, but you can see still the crowd. The crowd still to vote, and it's about 1:30. So in the next 1 hour, voting is supposed to close officially. But again, the rule is that once you are in the polling unit before 2:30, you must vote. So I expect that all these people, you can still see a few, I'm sure there's still more than 100 persons yet to vote here. So I expect that they will all vote.
Okay. All right. Your Excellency, are you happy with the number of turnouts? Considering the last election, we have less than 10% participation. Are you happy with the number of turnouts in this election?
I cannot know the number of turnouts. How can I know the number of turnouts when voting is still ongoing? There's no way you know. Until voting closes and votes are counted. When you say the number of voters that are credited and then those who voted and so on and so forth before you can comment on turnout. For now, we don't know. All you hear is that, I tell you, it's going on well.
All right, Your Excellency, sir, you've made some very remarkable presentation about the election process. My question is, how confident are you in terms of victory, and are you sure the party will sweep across the 21 local governments?
Let me tell you, let me be clear. We said this all through the campaigns. We have opponents, but we have not seen the opposition. And but even then, we have not taken the votes of the people for granted. And that's why we're literally the only party, the only candidate that crisscrossed the entire 21 local governments, the entire 326 wards, markets, streets, roads, everywhere. Even though everybody says nobody is competing against, but we don't take any vote for granted. And yes, we are. The only thing we hear that is actually a concern, and we hope it's not going to happen, is that one party, I don't want to mention the candidate, that their only strategy is that they have written results which they want to swap during the collation process.
What you're seeing right now, of course, is a live feed from Anambra State. The current governor is actually addressing the press. He just voted about 1:18 p.m. this afternoon, and after which he chose to speak with the press. Some of the things he did highlight is the process being at least smooth, where he voted, and he also did talk on vote buying too, where he alleged that a certain candidate in a certain local government was giving out 15,000 naira. He said even if it's 100, he's confident that the people's conscience will at the end of the day come to bear. He also said something about a particular candidate too. How did he put it? He said they've written results
that they want to
and
swap.
That they want to swap, and he's hoping it's not.
And I think I'm actually going to ask my guest, because it feels like selective attention, right? So you hear that there are candidates who want to swap votes. You hear that there are people who are buying votes, but you don't hear about the turnout. It just feels like selectively paying attention to the things that actually matter.
Exactly. and the angle of we've had the opposition, some opposition saying the ruling is buying. Now, the ruling is also saying it's getting intel that the opposition is selling. So, I mean, you look at all of this, and it just brings to the fore. And that will take me back to you, Dr. Alex. Dr. Alex, we, of course, had to interrupt your conversation because we needed to go to Anambra State and take a feed from the live governor. I'm back to you right now. Can you hear me? Okay, I understand that we, of course, have lost Dr. Alex. Once we connect with him, we'll definitely bring him on. Let me come back to you, Barrister Adams. Yeah. Your reaction to some of the things the governor has said, particularly on the issue of vote buying and perceived, alleged, manipulation in advance.
That is what I was saying before he came online also, that is campaigning during the election. Is not supposed to. It's not allowed. Electoral Act is very clear on that.
Well, is it not conflicting though? Because he is still the incumbent governor, so he is just showing concern about the
candidate. What about the other candidates? The question we're asking right now is that what about the other? There are about 16 political parties in this election. Out of the 16, you have about 6 of them. You see, the whole men in the whole world are focusing on him. Now, we're asking about the other 15, or even the other 6. What have we heard about them? Now, he's trying to influence the minds of people who are voting, because voting has not ended.
But as
if this interview was conducted after the voting, I wouldn't have any problem. Maybe around 3 or 4. Oh, what was your whatever? How did you see the elections that took place just last about 30 minutes ago? But elections and voting is still taking place.
Okay, so my thing is, because you can always trust News Central to get an unbiased perspective. I know. So definitely, when other candidates are voting, we'll definitely get their opinion. Absolutely. So what should he have said, compared to what he mentioned?
What he would have said, in my own opinion, is that, well, election is going on well. Let's hope, let the voters go about and do the voting. I don't want anybody to embarrass or maybe harass them. You go your way. After the results or after whatever, I will speak to the state. Right. But when you begin to insinuate, you're already coloring the minds of the voters. And let me tell you now, what has happened is that if you look at the areas these allegations are being flunked into, I'm sure that is the area it has disadvantage in terms of support. So, for instance, let me tell you, because we have studied the processes for election in Nigeria here. Do not be surprised that if he lost this election or loses the election today, I'm just trying to say open and close, he's going to say that Newi, whatever, is where vote buying was, then evidences will not be led to that particular claim that he made before the elections. How did he know?
All right.
How did he know that? You see, so these are the things we're talking about. It's influencing the election.
I'll come back to you, but let's bring back Dr. Agbaenyi. Can you hear me? Do we have the connection now? All right.
Yes.
Yes, I believe you listened to some of the things the governor did say in that very brief press address. What's your take?
A bit of it.
What's your take, sir? What's your take on some of the issues he raised?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, good. Thank you very much. Sorry for the disconnection. My take on this issue is that one major thing that would determine the quality of this election going on now supposed to be the standard those who are involved in the conduct exercise in the course of doing it, in the process. We have listened to what happened during the campaign and all the other things. But what I think is most important at this point is the ability of those who are involved in the conduct of the election to do the conduct, to execute their responsibilities based on the rule of law. Both those who are security men and those who are INEC staff, they should pay serious attention and be highly committed to executing and implementing what they asked to do based on the rule of law. If election starts elected, I think whatever anybody must have said or done may not have a significant impact on the outcome of the election. And Anambralians, as I said earlier, at this point, have the opportunity to determine who becomes Anambra governor in this dispensation. And the process is on. Let us see what will actually happen.
All right, Doctor.
Politicians can say a lot of things and do a lot of things during campaign. Yes, hello?
Yeah, Doctor, I mean, you said quite a couple of things, but I'd like to bring you back to one issue that seems to be a recurrent decimal to many of the candidates, and that's the issue of vote buying. We just had a while ago, the governor, inferred that a certain party was paying 15,000 naira, to induce voters. There's another candidate, Chioma Ifemeludike, who put it on social media. She's the candidate for one of the parties too. She wrote, "I just got a report from my polling unit, a Searchlight, that vote buying is heavily happening across polling units in Anambra State governorship election. I call on security agencies, INEC, to get the party agent paying voters 5,000 naira for their conscience. This very act is destroying our society and it is totally unacceptable." The governor also inferred to say that a certain candidate had pre-prepared results with the hope to swap. So my question, sir, does this already, with all of these allegations, does this already, put the entire process to question?
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Hello, are you hearing me now?
Yes, we can.
Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Good. One thing is for people to make allegations. The next thing is to consider how real, how empirical are these allegations. My own way of reacting to allegations is that if you say there is vote buying somewhere, please mention the area where there is vote buying and the person who is involved. This issue of allegation do not help systems. It does not help matters. What actually happens is that if you are ready to expose such illegality, you should be ready to say there is vote buying at this particular point or by this particular person, even if you don't know the personality. You have their phone. If you can cover the process of vote buying so that when you speak, we know actually this is what you are saying. Otherwise, it's very difficult for one to react to such allegations.
All right.
There is no how you can also bring this to court of law for trial when you do not have any evidence to show that a thing like that is happening. So I will encourage anybody who is saying there is vote buying anywhere to please tell us where, the particular polling unit where vote buying is ongoing, and the person who is involved. Do a video coverage if possible. Contact the security agents who are there, and that will help us more.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Agbaenyi. Let me come to Barrister Asim now, and it's quite interesting because for some reason these vote buying allegations are not made by the people voting. They're mostly made by the candidates themselves, to talk about the incumbent governor and some other candidates. So it's now beginning to look like a strategy on its own. And so when Dr. Alex Agbaenyi was speaking, it felt almost impossible for you to mention the names of those you allege are buying the votes, because that would now be a campaign strategy on its own. But it looks as though they're using this as another avenue to, throw off people from their own. I mean, we just spoke about the allegations leveled against Governor Soludo himself, and now he is saying he's hearing that other people are buying votes. So this is looking like a strategy on its own. What do you think?
This has been, the strategy, and is continuing in the Anambra, election. And one thing that, gets me worried is that he has made that allegation, and that is a very serious allegation, for a governor to say that he heard, that they are somebody, even mentioned the particular area, that's Newi, and he also said that he heard that 15,000 or thereabout is being given to voters, per voter, to vote. That's a very serious allegation that will impact, this particular election. What we've been saying before now is that when these kind of allegations, break, what should have happened is that, see, I think the police can even, call the governor and say, please, can you give us information where this is taking place, and the candidate in confidence, they will not go there immediately and try and see if we can stop or arrest people in order for us to prosecute them, so that it will be a lesson learned in the next election that is coming. But nobody's going to call the governor, as the case may be. So this is the problem we are having. I have said, here, that if you go to the Electoral Act, if you look at Section 114 to Section 127 down to 129, it talks about vote buying. And he's saying that if you do this before the election, during the election, and after the election, then you should be prosecuted. And when you are prosecuted, you either pay a fine or you go to prison for a period of time. So the allegation by the governor is it's a weighty one. By my own reckoning. Maybe after they can call him and say, okay, please, sir, Excellency, can you let us know exactly, or the candidate that they informed you that was buying votes, to the extent that you knew that it was 15,000 naira that he was dishing out to people. Let us see if we can invite and investigate or interrogate the person, as the case may be. Otherwise, it will amount to hearsay. Because in law, you see, what he has said now is just a pure hearsay. Yeah. You understand? And hearsay evidences has no place. Right. But it can lead to what I call a stream or softening of a mischief. When you want to create some mischievous atmosphere, getting at your opponent, you now begin to lay allegations and begin to say that you suspect that is what they are doing. It's like a mind game, I believe so. It does happen in football. You understand? Coaches can talk one way or the other that, we believe that the referee is this or whatever the case may be. So he's also using that as a mind game. But the mind game is a very serious one. All right. And should be taken very seriously. And let those who are involved be prosecuted.
All right. Yes. Let's go back to Doctor. Doctor, if you can hear me, so far, looking at what we've seen and what we've heard and what is currently being experienced in Anambra State as regards the vote. Okay, just before I get to that, we understand that we, of course, need to join Jack Ekpele, civil society organization in Anambra State. He's addressing the press. Take a listen.
The INEC chairman, let me commend the INEC in general as an institution, but let me commend the INEC chairman. We've been in touch. We've had 3 meaningful conversations during this election that he personally called, personally sent pictures where he saw persons, where they escalated to him persons with disability voting, and his assurance that he's interested in inclusivity. That is a good development for the entire community of persons with disability. And I want to finally thank all my colleagues seated. Every one of them have their eyes on the inclusive process of this particular election. Let me finally call on persons with disability who have not voted. You still have the opportunity to go out there and cast your vote. If you don't vote, the process will not be inclusive. If you don't vote, you have no right to complain what kind of leaders that will lead you. Election cannot be credible, cannot be free, cannot be fair if it's not inclusive. It's absolute rape on democracy where inclusivity is not part of the process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On election security, the Kuka Center.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this press statement. So, following the signing of the Peace Accord on Monday, the 3rd of November, the Secretariat of the National Peace Committee, the Kuka Center, is focused on observing security risks and electoral offenses. Some of the things that we noticed today was that there was security gaps in polling units. Some polling units operated without any visible security presence. I give you an example. PU 14 in Kwele Ezunaka, Oyi local government. And these gaps increase the risk of intimidation, interference with voting, and disruption during collation. So I'd like to recommend that security visibility must be sustained through accreditation, voting, counting, and collation. Secondly, we noticed localized delays in high-risk LGAs. Delays in INEC and security arrival were particularly noted in Ihiala, Ogbaru, and Enewi North. These local government areas we had previously identified as high risk due to historical patterns of cult-related activity, politically motivated intimidation, and fragile security arrangements. So we are calling on the security agencies, and INEC in particular, that high-risk LGAs require reinforced monitoring. Thirdly, vote buying and inducement. Vote buying is a critical part of our electoral offenses tracking system that we have at the Election Security Hub. So it's very important for us. We noticed that there were isolated but notable incidents of vote trading. We have the Amasia Ward, PU001 in Oka North. We also noticed trends of vote buying in Neri South and Agwata, where party agents distributed cash to voters. So this highlights the critical case of vote buying, and vote buying has been a key method of influencing results where physical intimidation has become limited. Finally, I'd like to talk about low-level intimidation risk. We noticed this in urban centers, where party agents and local youth groups were seen attempting to monitor and influence voter choices, particularly in areas with strong party rivalries, like Newi South and Agwata. While we do not have a record of violent confrontations, there is a need for continued security visibility. So INEC and ISS must deter and promptly address vote buying and low-level intimidation. Thank you very much.
Gender.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone.
Wait.
Are you ready for it? Okay. Welcome again, everyone. Under the Joint Gender Situation Room, comprised of Electoral and the Nigerian Women Trust Fund, we are assessing the process, looking at how women are participating as voters, as observers, and as officials. According to data submitted by our observers deployed across 160 polling units as at 11 a.m., 61.75% of the polling units reported female INEC officials presiding over voting, while 47.5% of them reported the presence of female security personnel at the poll as well. In terms of critical incident reporting, observers documented several critical incidents across Oka South, Oyi, Ogbaru local government areas, Injikolka local government area as well, highlighting logistical lapses and procedural irregularities that are affecting voter confidence and participation. In Oka South, delays in the arrival of INEC officials were reported at Junction, polling unit 024, where voters had waited for over 1 hour before the arrival of electoral officials. Observers also recorded the absence of security personnel at the time of the reporting at same polling units. While the atmosphere remained tense but non-violent as of 9:48 a.m., similarly, Eke Aqua Market, polling unit 023, observers reported that only 4 of 211 registered voters had been accredited by 10 a.m. And some believe that largely due to the fact that a high number of the registered voters are market women who do not reside in close proximity to the market. This development may have disproportionately affected female traders and contributed to low turnout observed. In Ijikoka local government, reports of massive vote buying with party agents assisting voters, leading to arguments, and a few of the women have withdrawn due to fear of safety. In Oyi local government, Nkwele, Izunaka ward, polling unit 13, observers reported open vote buying by party agents, raising concerns about electoral integrity. In Ibikwe, polling unit 032, Obaru local government area, INEC officials arrived at 10:49 a.m. without any security presence as well. In addition to these, 4 other observers have also reported attempted voter influence across Anambra East and Onisha North local government. Of these 3 polling units, reports of vote buying targeting youths. One polling unit reported vote buying targeting security personnel as well, and 3 polling units reported incidents of harassment and intimidation. Media.
That's all.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I will take media on behalf of International Press Center and Center for Media and Society. We deployed journalist observers in all the 21 local governments, 42 of them. And the preliminary report from them showed that in the context of incidents, there were no major infraction of the rights of journalists to cover the governorship election. Although there was an instance where a journalist from UNIZIG FM, that's a campus radio, faced mild obstruction while filming voter interviews, but was subsequently allowed to continue after clarification with security agents. That was in the context of that. But beyond journalists and incidents, because as journalist observers, we also observed some other threats. In the area of disinformation, we countered the false information that a Yaga observer was assaulted by a policeman who actually fired the tear gas at the Hiala area and was later apprehended. Those on ground felt that he had probably taken a bottle too many, but the state police said he was overzealous. That was the report that we got, on that. Before today, we had also corrected false information regarding stay at home because of the public holiday that was declared on Friday. And we said that there was no stay at home and people were free to come out to cast their votes. We observed under critical incidents that there were no major violence and that security agents in the areas observed by the journalists maintained calm at the polling stations. The journalist observers also have to check on inclusivity and accessibility. The observation is that in a number of places, the elderly citizens, pregnant women, and the nursing mothers were given priority in voting. Although in Ogbaru, Anambra East, and Idemili North, they reported challenges for voters with physical disabilities, such as steep access paths and inadequate sitting areas near the voting centers. For the accreditation and voting, the observation aligns with our other partners in terms of functionality or some minor incidents and relative early arrival of polling agents, polling officials. So overall, there were 38 reports which confirmed the smooth accreditation, and 29 of the journalist observers rated the voting process as easy, but there were 33 minor irregularities which were mostly procedural in terms of misplacement of queues of voters arriving without PVCs. The observation on deployment of election materials was also similar from the journalist observers. And then finally, in the area of arrival of INEC officials and commencement of polls, it was a mixed bag. In some, voting and accreditation started at 8:30, but in others, there was delay before the commencement. So in 38 incidents, it was reported that there were uninterrupted accreditation process, but in 35, there were cited minor irregularities. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for sitting patiently and listening to Well, thank you very much for sitting patiently and listening to the respective partners of the hub share findings from the thematic areas of focus for the observation. At this point, we would like to take any questions from members of the press based on the preliminary assessment that we have provided this afternoon. Any questions from the press? I hope. No. Okay. There is none. Since Mr. Akingbolu highlighted this critical incident, Larry, sorry. Let me provide a clarification. Yes, we did receive a critical incident at the local government, the INEC local government office in Ihala, where it was alleged that the core members that were assigned to some of the polling units were being substituted and chaos occurred and 2 people were injured. We have verified that incident, and what really transpired there was that the police did tear gas some of those who were present at the local governments because there was a disagreement at the local government. So there was a case where they were tear gassed in Ihala local government office, and we've verified this particular incident, although it is reported that a core member was involved.
Anambra off-cycle elections and what you have seen as the CFSOs given an update on the election. Quite interesting developments, but one thing that I noticed is that most of the concerns center around security, which is chief of, the discussion that we'll be having. And I want to come straight to Barrister Asim Adams. Now, they have talked about the concerns that regardless of the fact that there was a need to prepare in terms of security, they still realized that in some areas there were not enough security personnel. And if you look critically at it, you'll see that that is probably why there was the impetus for voter intimidation or harassment or even vote buying, because you can't be exchanging money, in broad daylight when there are security personnel. So all of these center around security or the lack of it thereof. What do you think about there were other concerns, but we'll get to that. But in terms of security, what's your thought on that?
Yes, that is. I thought as much that this was going to happen, especially in that Ihiala axis. If you can remember, take your mind back, you found out that Ihiala axis has been a hotbed for the unknown gunmen. Even as we speak today, and even while this election is going on, there is a former member of the Labour Party or so that was kidnapped. Up to today, nobody has seen his body. And it happened around that Ihiala axis. And that is the area where this particular Monday sit at home is always carried out by, some people in that area. So I knew that it was going to be very difficult for them to conduct a free and fair election without violence in that area. So this has just happened now. I don't know, maybe the police, they need to still get in there. Non-state actors, cannot overpower the state actors, as the case may be. So let them send in more reinforcement there, so that a number of people will not be disenfranchised. Because that's an area that we call the blight spot. In Anambra, a lot of things that happen. In Anambra, you have this operation, Agune Chamber or whatever. Yeah. You have another one. There are two of them that the governor set up, specifically to protect people. So what are they doing? They should move in there and make sure that people there, there's still time for them to, cast their votes, because that is the only area now we are seeing that there's a report of violence, as the case may be. And violent conduct before and during the election is also an offense. So what the question I'm asking now is that if what the CSOs are saying from their interim report, that this has happened, who has been arrested? I have not seen anybody that has been arrested at this point in time. Even the CSO confirmed, that there's vote buying somewhere there. Somebody has not been arrested. I want to see people being arrested and prosecuted, because these are, cubicle in the, section 114 to 129 of the Electoral Act that says violence, inducement, etc. as the case may be. These are, punitive measures should be meted out to those who are arrested, as the case may be. Police should go out and, get these people there. Then what worries me, what I see heard from the CSO, you see, because I am using Anambra, issue to periscope the firmament, the electoral firmament in Nigeria. What is the meaning of peace accord? You see, the CSO, somebody made an allusion to that. You see, that is, you find that they say every time election is coming, there may be this ex-general Ibrahim Salami or whatever, we go out to Kuka to go and bring politicians and begin to say, please, there should be no violence in the election. The question I'm asking, I only hear of peace accord like the Camp David peace accord. It's for warring factors, factions. It then means that election in Nigeria is war.
So are you saying that the traditional peace accord is not necessary, that politicians sign before election?
Yes, it ought not to be, because election ought to be a civil responsibility and not a military whatever. You understand? But we have a peculiar...
Some might argue to say that it's just some sort of commitment to follow the rules of engagement.
That is what I'm saying. You see, you need to bring them together, because you are militarizing the election. You see, a lot of people do not even want to vote, because I'll tell you one, if I go out, if they kill me or shoot me, what happens to me? And even if I vote, when I take this risk, Are you sure that these people will even, my vote will count? These are the reasons, these are, problems. I'm not saying it's not there, but I'm saying it's a peculiar, situation that has made elections in Nigeria today, all over Nigeria, to become a minefield. A lot of people don't want to go in there. Why? Because the politicians are desperate. They want to get power by all means. Otherwise, why kill, why maim in the year, or whatever as the case may be? They should go in there and do something.
Maybe we should.
50,000 police, security agencies, police bought 45,000, the civil defense bought 10, making it 55. Then you have Navy or whatever, 5, about 60,000, security force in Anambra State. They ought not to be, this kind of skirmishes as we have right now.
All right. We'll come back to you, Barrister Adams. Let's bring Dr. Alex back. Doctor, maybe I should just pick up from some of the things Barrister Adams did say. Do you think the traditional signing, let me start from there, of the peace accord, should be expunged, given the fact that it's an election, it's not a war?
Thank you very much. It is always very necessary for candidates and parties who are going to be involved in an election to come together and sign agreement on the way and manner by which that election will go. But unfortunately, sometimes some people will sign those accords and still violate them. We are aware that the Nigerian political system is a militarized one. And to that effect, we believe that all stakeholders involved in the election should do their best to be able to carry out their electoral responsibilities. A situation where people sign agreements and they don't fulfill it because of personal interest does not go down well with collective good. The issue of Ihiala, that place has been a crisis-ridden area. And my expectation is that security agents supposed to have been more there than any other place. And another thing I consider important, particularly in these reportages, is I like to hear what was the actions of security agents.
All right, Dr. Alex
in
Agbaenyi,
such activities.
my
What
apologies.
did they do
My
to
sincere
enable us to
apologies.
know whether they are present there or not and what actually happened.
Dr. Agbaenyi, if you can hear me, please hold that thought. We'll come back to that regarding the signing the peace deal or not signing it. Right now, we have my colleague, our correspondent, Victor Ombadike, who is currently with the election observers, and we want to find out what more we have regarding the election so far. Victor, if you can hear me, what's the update on your end?
The elections will soon be over in the next few hours, and just a moment ago we had joint election observers who are giving up their tidbits and the assessment so far as the election is concerned. We'll have Mr. Larry Orugundade from the ICPC. We'll also have Sam Mitodo from Yaga Africa. Of course, we have Amina Zakari, the Vice President, Vice Chairman of TAP Africa also here. A lot of them are here, so they'll be giving us their tidbits on their assessment so far. Okay, so let me start with Mr. Larry Orugundade of IPC, the International Press Center. Please come forward if you can. All right, so very quickly, I do know that the elections will soon be over, having been here since morning. So could you please tell us exactly what's your assessment, what have you and your team and other CSOs have come about as far as this election is concerned?
So what we've observed is a mixed situation. First, in some places, the materials were deployed in time, INEC officials arrived in time, but there were other areas where voting and accreditation did not commence until 9 a.m., even in some parts of Oka here. In Onitsha, some INEC officials did not leave the secretariats in time for them to get to the polling units. But across the states, we didn't record much incidents. although there was tension in the INEC office in Hiala local government area, basically because of suspicion that some youth corps members were being changed, and in that process, people were tear gassed, and there was an injury. The deployment of security personnel went well. There were some polling units where they had arrived even before the INEC officials arrived. But then there were also some places where people noticed that there was absence of security personnel. For vote buying, there was suspicion of vote buying. Not that it was that open, because we saw EFCC going around in their branded red jackets, but it's like it was being done discreetly, with some people taking names of those who had voted, possibly for the purpose of giving them some inducement later. We were impressed by the fact that elderly persons, pregnant women, nursing mothers were being given priority voting, which is what is expected of the officials based on the electoral guidelines. Witnessed in one of the polling units where I saw the assistant presiding officer, repeatedly asking the aged, the pregnant women to come to the front of the queue, and in some instances too, the elderly were assisted to cast their votes. So these are our preliminary observations. We recorded only a minor incident when it comes to obstruction of journalists from doing their work, although there was intervention, and later on the journalist was allowed to continue the work. So this is where we are. All these things are relative. I think I should mention too the observation that the turnout was not as expected, and we're still debating as to whether where we will move from 10% if we get across that, which was 2021, whether we're going to get to 20 or 30 or even 40. But the impression across is that that may not be the case because of the relative low turnout.
All right, thank you, sir. Samson Etolo is still here with us, Yaga Africa. So maybe you should tell us, is this a consensus in terms of what they've all agreed from what they've all observed as far as the election is so far today? Samson, is this a consensus? Is this an agreement? Is this what you've all come together to say, okay, this is what it is. It should have been this. It should not have been this. It could have been better. Well, in the next few hours, of course, we still have a little more time. Could there be any changes?
Well, I think first, if you look at the deployment of logistics for this election, there's a marked improvement based on the data that we have available. Because in 2017 to 2021, the percentage of polling units that were open at 7:30 were about 17% in 2021. Now, in this election, we recorded 49%. We've not gone above the 50% mark, which shows that INEC has a lot of work it needs to do to improve on logistics. The entire election has been in a very peaceful manner, very secure manner. The only drawback that we see for this election is the fact that, it appears from our observation, the turnout is still low. We're not in a position to provide exact estimates at the moment because, as you know, Yaga Africa is deploying the PVT. Later, after votes have been counted, we will be in a position to project what will be the turnout for this election. But the turnout is still very low based on our observation as well as the observation from the other partners.
Thank you, Samson. I do know you're going back to the field. So blessings and Dapo. I will also be going back to the field to give you updates as we do a countdown to the end of the polls. And I'm pretty sure you'll get more information from me as I return to the field again.
Right, thank you so much for the update there, Victor. Well, let's bring it back to the studio. We still have our guest with us, of course, Barrister Asim Adams is a legal practitioner. Dr. Alex Agbaenyi is an associate professor of political science in Adegboye University. He joins virtually. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with us. Well, let's, and I'm bringing it to you, Barrister Adams. Some of the issues that, we've been discussing, has to do with security and vote buying. But one other thing that I noticed that the CSO did highlight is delays in certain areas. And that's the fact that Some areas, before materials got there, took a while. Before they even kicked off, it took a while. And then, the logistical hitches, basically. This is not new. And this is something that, for every election, INEC keep promising and saying that, look, we will improve, we will get better. But here we are, again.
I think what needs to be done is a holistic, rejigging of the processes of voting in Nigeria. You see, the world has gone beyond this medieval kind of voting system.
That's people queuing up.
You go to one center, you queue up, then you be counting and whatever. Why don't I can even come out at my local government, secretariat in my place there, or the maybe designated areas where I just go in there, I do my thumbprint and I go. You understand? I just, I already have everything electronically done. Technology is taking the space all over the place. Now, you know what is going on today? Let me tell you, you find out that during this election, commercial business activities have been crippled. That shouldn't be. We have seen in other climes, even on television, we see elections are going on, banks are open, people are going about their normal duty, schools are open, everybody's going about his normal duty. It's for me to just go to the center and just do my voting and go. Now, the reason why we have this kind of problem is number one. You see, for those areas that you have delays, maybe INEC officials were scared of their lives. If, for instance, I'm giving electoral material to take to a Hiala region, as the case may be, and I do not have adequate security around me, I will not move. I have to wait till I get the retinue of security people to follow me to that particular area. Two is this: I witnessed this happen in Rivers State, where I operated for a long time, and in Edo State. Now, the vehicles, I do not have logistic vehicles to carry electoral materials.
They work with them.
Now, what happens? They go out their source, their source, whatever. You bring in your buses, as the case may be. A particular situation happened that while they were about going to a particular area to go and deliver, voter materials, a day before the election, the truck broke down on the road.
With sensitive materials.
That was some time ago. The truck broke down. Now, getting people to be able to go and reinforce and do whatever as case may be, then you now transload and put another vehicle. Before you know what is going on, you can never get those materials to that place at the appropriate time for people to begin to do their voting. That is number one. Number two is that the materials might even get to their location, final destination. But politicians, who are high and mighty, they collude, with officials of INEC and take them somewhere and keep.
Allegedly,
now, electoral, you understand, to frustrate, whatever is going to take place to their own favor. There are manipulations that make these things happen. So a lot of, inhibiting factors restrain, INEC from, conducting free, flow, and credible elections. That is why you see every election time, you hear that in the city centers, they started voting. But in the hinterland, they say there's no voting. In Rivers State, for instance, Bayelsa, it doesn't happen. The elections were postponed for about 48 hours, after the main election took place. Why? Because they will tell you that the creeks and all those whatever you have around there, getting materials across to them is a Herculean task. They need security, they need logistics, etc. as the case may be. Manpower will not want to go because I've seen a situation where, like what happened, in one of these states, I don't want to call the name, so people said, I am not going. Ad hoc staff. When they say, presidential election I'm talking about, they say, INEC said they need ad hoc staff. Zamfara State, Borno, many people said they are not going. Why? Because of security situation. INEC now became handicapped. Because those applicants who came in, when they say you are going to say, please, over my dead body, will I go there? So before you know, very reluctant, people, staff, and desperate ones was, okay, let me go. God save me. And INEC will not have that problem of training them, recruiting them, and sending those materials across to those areas. A number of factors. But this could be eliminated. How do we eliminate this? You see, I have seen a particular program on television, where the young people participate, where even about 100 million people, votes were counted. Now they say the winner is this, what happened, transparent, whatever. They say it was through voting of type a number here and you vote.
But do you think
Can't we do that?
Do you think Nigeria has the capacity? Because we also have the IRF, we have the beavers,
No,
and there are challenges.
We're going to get to the IRF. You see, let me say something now. I am waiting for them. You know, the CSO, I'm waiting for them to see exactly. They have given me a report which I'm taking home. They call it sensitive people, interim report. But tomorrow, let me hear what their report will be about these elections. You understand the point? Now, I am watching them. Nobody is emphasizing on the fact that the guidelines for the election, like we have about 25,000 beavers machines. Are they all working? Oh, it means it's working 100% because no complaints of the beavers machine by voters malfunctioning. So I don't want to hear tomorrow that it malfunctions somewhere, because it is part of the regulations here. About 25,000 or thereabouts, 25,000 beavers.
Okay.
So are you saying all of them are working up to 100%?
Okay, Barrister Adams, this is a very salient point you've raised.
Yes.
And I want us to bring Dr. Agbaenyi into this matter, because we've talked about, Dapo mentioned the IRF, we're talking about the beavers. Let's not forget what happened 2023, regardless of all of these machines and electronic mechanisms that we had in place. Some youths even refused to use all of this. Instead, they were present at the voting center, counting by mouth, like you could see them counting from number 1 to the thousands, because they wanted to make sure that the voting was free, fair, and transparent. But then what happened in the end? You know, you hinted at the fact that the allegations were that some machines were not working, some things were malfunctioning. So in all of that, do you think that an electronic system of voting is possible or feasible here in Nigeria, looking at, 2023 elections and even after that?
Thank you very much. The effectiveness of election or electoral processes is primary responsibility of INEC and other stakeholders. And upon that, we define the performance and the competence of INEC. I do believe strongly that electronic gadgets are very nice, innovative devices that can improve the execution of electoral processes. But this depends upon the people who regulate the use and the competence of people who use them. You see, you understand what happened during the 2023 general election, a situation whereby people voted, but Beavers was unable to deliver. It was unable to report the result. That actually, I do not believe it was the function or malfunctioning of machines. I believe some people must have not handled the machines as they're supposed to do, or that there were some manipulations. If in a lot of instances you have failure of machines, I believe there is somewhere human factor associated with it. Otherwise, these same machines, they work in some other places. They work in other countries. Why can't they work here? The essence of introducing such devices are to improve the electoral process. And the INEC should do well to get that well done by the use of competent hands, people who know how to operate even when there are minor challenges, and people who are determined, who are capable of not being manipulated in the course of using it. Failure of an election because of malfunctioning or whatever of machines should be blamed first on the body, that is the INEC, that introduces and uses it, because INEC promised the public that these machines are capable and they are ready and available to carry out these functions assigned to it, and that they have enough manpower to do that. I do not see any major reason why it should not work. It works other places, except there are human manipulations those machines supposed to work very well.
From the studios of News Central Television, this is the live special coverage of the Anambra off-cycle elections. It's the sixth one since 2021, and we have been having an extensive conversation with our guests, and of course we have our correspondents stationed across the different regions in Anambra State to bring us the updates of the election. We've talked about very, very pivotal points with our guest. Our guest joining us first virtually is Dr. Alex Agbaenyi, Associate Professor of Political Science at Azikiwe University, and we also have the legal practitioner, Barrister Asim Adams, and they have been doing justice to the conversations. We've gone extensively around the issue of security, around the issue of allegations of vote buying and voter intimidation. And we have settled at a very pivotal point where we're talking about the candidates themselves, and we will be launching into the achievement very shortly. So it's been a very extensive and very conversational segment of the show, and News Central promises to bring you more live coverage as the elections unfold. The elections are gradually winding down, as Victor Mbadike earlier mentioned while he was speaking with the CSOs, but that is not to say that we will stop the conversation, because it's a very important conversation, and we've talked about the pressure that INEC has been facing, especially with the new man in charge, Amupiton. Now, what you're seeing here is vote counting. Vote counting has officially begun in different regions of Anambra State, and before you know it, the results will be announced. But like we said, we're still having very pivotal conversations, and I want to come to our legal practitioner who's in the studio with us while we still view the live visuals of the vote counting that is ongoing. Talking about the candidates themselves now, the incumbent, Soludo. Now, many people would argue that he has been one of the best governors, so far, but some would still say that there's a lot left to achieve. When we were talking earlier, you mentioned a candidate who got kidnapped, I think in 2021, and I was watching one interview earlier where one of I think the chairman of the APGA was being questioned about that, about why it seemed as though the incumbent governor did not do anything as regards trying to even locate this candidate who got kidnapped years ago. And that somehow allegedly sums up the security state or the security status of the state. So in terms of security and every other aspect, would we say that the incumbent has delivered enough to secure the trust of the people for a second term?
Well, I'm not from Anambra State, so I view Anambra State or see Anambra from the outside, not from the perimeter. But I have seen that Soludo is just a typical, what I would describe as atypical, situation of Plato's philosopher king. Now, I saw Soludo in that mode, being an intellectual and now very ebullient, intelligent. I remember there's this slogan when he was to be made governor of Central Bank. They used to use that word or phrase, Soludo the solution. So I saw him in that particular platter, and I was following him keenly. Then when he became governor of Anambra State, I have not really seen what he has done, that I will now say is still the same Soludo the solution that we used to know him as at that time. One, as an economist, from the economic perspective of Anambra State, by now, even if other his predecessors never did that, by now, Anambra ought to be a mecca of salt for commercial activities, production, etc. Why am I saying this? In the whole of the southern part of Nigeria, Anambra is the only state that has two commercial vibrant cities, Nnewi and Onitsha. You do not even need, maybe policy of federal government, allocation, etc., for you to develop that your state. One, Onitsha alone, from the internally generated revenue of that state, of that particular market, should have taken Anambra to one of the richest states in Nigeria. Why am I saying that? If you go to Egypt, you go to any West African country, people travel down in those days, I don't know about now, to come and buy goods in Onitsha and take to Ghana. In fact, Onitsha was feeding the whole of the West African sub-region of, things from that Onitsha market. In Lagos, people come on a daily basis to Onitsha. They want to trade, they want to go and buy things at cheap rate to come and market somewhere. So, IGR from Onitsha should take care of whatever. Two, look at, Newi. Newi is just like Japan in Africa. If you go there, you see people who do this foundry, where they forge mechanical parts. There is nothing you take to Newi today that cannot be crafted, out by those people. And if you go to Newi, you are going to see, people like Kostaris, Innocent Motors, etc., and the rest of them. They are from that area, the axis. It ought to be like the Bavarian part of Germany, where BMW, etc., all those manufacturing companies, to the extent that it can even fend for itself. Now, collapsing Newi and Onitsha together, economically speaking, Anambra would have been one of the richest, not even Lagos. Or they would have been competing with Lagos in terms of IGR. Because people go in there. Most of the parts being used in the whole of West Africa today are gotten from Newi. People travel as far as Niger Republic have been there. You even see Igbo traders who are there. Where do they buy those their spare parts from? They go to Nigeria to buy from Newi and ferry them to Niger Republic, Mali, Senegal, as far as those areas. So these are areas I was thinking that they will build on. They have not been able to, get this thing together. Let's say the predecessors never did that, but Soludo as an economist and as a think tank man, that he was even part of the Buhari presidential economic whatever, should have been able to make Anambra State, even 2 years, 3 years, which is master plan, that Anambra will be a place that is up and about. I've been to Onitsha recently. Onitsha is a disabled, dilapidated, congested, conundrum. If you look at what is going on there, people run up and down with engine on their head. I don't really on that. There's no coordination because government is absent in terms of what this is. So development is down. Two, security-wise, the last time I drove past Onitsha, I had my heart in my mouth because I heard about unknown gunmen. I passed through Ihiala. As we were approaching Ihiala, my driver told me this is the Ihiala area, this is where they murder this is where they kill this. I became afraid. And it has been there uncontrolled. The unknown gunmen syndrome has become a HIV existing in Anambra State. And it couldn't put these things together. Anambra in the southeast has one of the highest rate of kidnapping cases. Banditry, killing, meaningless killing, etc., as the case may be, murder, as the case may be, is there. So security-wise, he has not done something that will make the state safe haven for people to come and invest. People are even going out now. People are moving from Anambra, coming down to Lagos to come and begin to trade. These are areas I think Soludo would have been. What Soludo is doing is playing politics of the center. I want to be at the center. Right. Let me align and do things, with the center and all those things. Not developing the state.
All right, Barrister Adams, thank you so much for the extensive analysis. Well, what you're watching right now is, of course, New Central special coverage of the Anambra governorship election. And what you're seeing on your screen right now is ongoing vote counting in Obuino Health Center, Ward 1, Unit 001, 2, and 3, Newi North. Take a listen.
Are they on you? Are they on you? You must go.
Valid vote. If it touches the line,
yes,
even if it's at the middle, it's valid. At the middle line, it's valid. If it touches the up line, just a little bit, it's still valid. Invalid vote means when the thing crosses it half, like this. It's invalid. So is it clear now? Valid. APC, valid. What is valid? Because all the APGA.
You are still watching News Central's special coverage of the ongoing Anambra governorship election. You just saw a while ago the vote counting process in Nnewi North local government area. Vote counting has actually started in some parts of the state, and we brought you live feed from one of those areas. Well, I'd like to say a big thank you to our guests who have been with us from, of course, the very start of this conversation. Many thanks to you. Barrister Asim Adams is a legal practitioner, is with me in the studio. Thank you for your time, sir. Also, Dr. Alex Agbaenyi is an associate professor of political science in Adegboye University. Thank you for your time too, sir. All right, at this point, we would be taking the news, on the hour, and Blessings Mosugu will be doing that. After which, we will continue with our special broadcast on the ongoing elections in Anambra State. I'm Dapo at Adegboye. Stay with us.